Welcome to OX Management Solutions, Free Aerospace Audit Readiness Course. Module 3, Context of the Organization. Context of the organization is intended to help new businesses, and established, yet irresponsible ones, understand all the components of their business and who they affect. Section 4 aims to get top management more involved with the QMS. The more top management is held accountable, the less the quality department has to wing it. This inherently increases organizational awareness. When viewing the standard, Section 4.1 is listed before Section 4.2, but in actual practice, an organization should perform Section 4.2 first because you have to decide which interested parties are relevant to the QMS before you can list their needs and expectations. Do not use a SWOT analysis for this. While easy to create, SWOTs are insufficient for this purpose. Sure, you might get through your audit, but you'll look like a rookie, and the goal is to instill confidence in your auditor. So instead, we'll use OX's COTO Risk Management Log. COTO being an acronym for Context of the Organization. The COTO log is similar to an FMEA, a living document by design. If populated correctly, it addresses any section that indicates a shall statement for interested parties and organizational risk management. Please note that organizational risk management differs from operational risk management, mentioned in the later sections. So let's begin, shall we? The COTO log has 5 tabs. A tab for interested parties, a tab to list their respective issues, a tab to manage the threats to your business, a tab to manage opportunities, and a master list tab to tweak the data according to your organization. On the Interested Parties tab, you have 3 columns. The first column is where you simply list all of your interested parties. The second column is where you identify each interested party as either internal or external to your company. And the third column is the reason for inclusion, where you justify them for being on this list. The next tab is the Issues tab. Under the Issues of Concern column, you list 3 types of information. First, you'll list the requirements for each interested party, which is mandatory. These can be written requirements or implied. What does each interested party need or expect from you? Second, list any previous issues that occurred in the past which had some effect on the company, if any. All issues should be generalized into one statement, but also concise enough to be categorized into a key focus area for strategy, and also to eliminate redundancy. Third, if a new business, you may not have any previous issues, so this is an opportunity to take the proactive step of anticipating any issues that could potentially occur. These potential issues can be based on prior industry knowledge, market research, or lessons learned in other areas. Next is the bias. Here, the team decides whether each issue of concern is considered a threat or an opportunity. All items considered threats are auto-populated onto the Threat tab, and all items considered opportunities are auto-populated onto the Opportunities tab, which we'll see shortly. After you assign a bias, you have to assign a treatment method. Risk treatment refers to the process of modifying a risk by changing its likelihood or impact. There are 6 risk treatment methods: avoidance, transference, mitigation, acceptance, exploitation, and enhancement. Avoidance aims to stay clear of situations where risks are severe and the cost or impact of those risks outweigh any potential benefits. This option is best used for catastrophic or foreseeable risk, where the probability of occurrence is high and the cost of avoidance is reasonable compared to the potential loss. Risk transfer is used when the risk can be transferred to another party, such as through insurance outsourcing or contracts. Applicable when the cost of transferring the risk is lower than the cost of the potential impact to the organization if the risk materializes. Risk mitigation is used when it's not feasible to eliminate the risk entirely, but actions can be taken to reduce its likelihood or impact. Applicable when the risk simply cannot be avoided, but can be managed to an acceptable level through preventive measures or controls. Risk acceptance is used when the risk is deemed acceptable based on its likelihood or potential impact, and the organization is willing to bear the consequences without implementing a specific risk treatment method. Most applicable when the cost of implementing other risk treatment methods exceeds the expected loss from the risk. Risk exploitation is about doing something to ensure the risk outcome happens again by developing a plan or strategy. For example, when approving a new supplier, You might perform a gap assessment plan to ensure strategic alignment and consistent quality product throughout the life of the contract. Risk enhancement is simply increasing the probability or impact of the risk by doing the same things at a higher scale. Best used when the outcomes or expectations aren't guaranteed, but definitely more certain. For example, if your last ad campaign was successful, then increasing your ad spend might bring in even more customers. On the Threat Register tab, the first column is auto-populated with every issue biased as a threat on the previous tab. Next to that column, use the drop-down to choose the likelihood that each threat will occur. This is a customizable Likert scale where each response is assigned a numerical value. For example, if the threat cannot occur or is not applicable, its corresponding value would be the number 1. If the threat is unlikely to occur, but still possible, it is assigned the number 2, and so forth. For previous occurrences, if the threat has occurred within the last 30 days, it is assigned the highest value of 4. If it occurred in the past year, it is assigned a 2. Then, in the next column labeled Probability Score, the two previous columns are multiplied together. The next 6 columns are called your Severity columns, which is the potential consequence of the threat manifesting. We do not recommend that you set each of these values 1 through 4, as we have for likelihood and occurrence. The reason being is that some of these potential risks weigh heavier, i.e., are more serious than others. For example, a potential risk to a person's health should have a heavier weight than the potential negative impact on your reputation. In the next column, the product of each severity column equals the severity score, and the severity score times the probability score equals the threat factor. If the threat factor is above a 300, then you and your team must come up with a mitigation plan to reduce the likelihood of the risk materializing. Remember, this is a high-level document, so just provide a short summary of what needs to happen and be sure to reference the actual mitigation plan, which should be a separate document. Plans need details, action owners, due dates, etc., which is typically in a form of a corrective action or preventative action. The next tab is the Opportunity Register. Similar to the previous tab, the first column on the Opportunity Register should be auto-populated with every issue you chose to bias as an opportunity. For the next 2 columns, use the drop-down to choose the likelihood and previous occurrence. For likelihood and occurrence, we left the options and values the same as the issues register, but you don't have to. Then the product of those two gave us the probability score. The next 5 columns are used to calculate the benefit score. The benefit score is then multiplied by the probability score to get the opportunity factor. An opportunity factor above 500 requires an exploitation plan. Again, the exploitation plan should be a separate document and can be any formal document you currently use to document improvement efforts. If you don't have a formal document, now is the best time to create one. Now, after you and your team have populated the Codo log, save it with the date in the file name. Have a quarterly meeting to track and update the document as mitigation and exploitation plans are completed and new data becomes available. This is a key component to your AS9100 management review meetings. If you'd like to purchase the Codo Risk Management Log template, click on the link in the description or visit oxbrandsinc.com. Thanks for watching.